Hey, thank you so much for joining kickoff presentation, kind of going over all the key details that we need to know for spring 2024 flag football here at Cal. For those of you who haven't met me, my name is Brent Walsh, and I lead flag football at Cal. Really excited to go through some of the key stuff we got going on for the spring. Number one, it's our first spring season. Number two, we're doing some new stuff this year that I think is going to be really, really cool for the kids and really help the program moving forward. So really with today, I want to go over like three key areas. Like number one, okay, what's the season going to look like? Because the season is going to have different phases. Number two, dive into the rules because it's something where we have, being in the spring, we got people who've played flag for the last few years. We got first ever flag players and coaches. We got players and coaches who played flag a few years ago, went up to tackle. Now they're doing flag again in the spring because they don't have tackle to worry about during the spring. And then last but not least, we're going to talk about how we're going to approach the summer, especially for All Stars, and then some changes that'll be happening for the fall, just so that way everyone can get ready for all the changes that are going to be happening and have a good understanding of everything with the program end to end. So to kick things off, I want to go through what the season is going to look like. Now, this looks really, really long. And for some players, it will be. But we want to really break the season down into like three key components. We have the first component where we're going to have camp, and that's going to be at MEF Fieldhouse. And really, that's an opportunity for our players to learn the fundamentals and get the basic concepts and even learn, a basic offensive system all together, all indoors, because we have zero clue what the weather's going to look like between now and towards the end of April. Even then, I guess it's kind of hit or miss here. But that's going to be on March 17th, March 24th, April 7th, and April 14th. During camp, 6U and 10U are going to be going from 1 to 2:30. Split them off into two groups. All 6U will be going together. All 10U will be going together. We'll be going through different stations and everything. We'll hit on that a little bit more in a bit. 8U and 12U will be going from 3 to 4:30. So that'll be kind of that first third of the season, which is camp. Then the bulk of the season is going to be our regular season. That's going to be April 21st through June 2nd, every Sunday except for the Sunday of Memorial Day weekend. Practices and games will be on the same day. They will be on Sundays. They will be back to back. So 6U will practice at 1, game at 2. 8U will be practicing at 2, game at 3. 10U will be practicing at 3, game at 4. And then 12U will be practicing at 4, game at 5. All that is going to be at Calplex. Also, the top 4 teams in each division will play in the playoffs on June 9th. So that way we can determine first through third place in each division, and we can give trophies/awards to first through third place. Then after that, we have All-Stars. And this is something that's brand new for Cal flag football. And quite frankly, I'm not too familiar with very many other leagues who take this approach. Really, it's kind of mimicked off like a Little League All-Star type setup. So each division, we're gonna select the best players for an all-star team for each division, and we are going to be playing games against other all-star teams. Think about this as like a tournament with extended pool play type of season. So on June 16th, 23rd, and 30th, that's where any team who signs up to be in the all-star season, they're going to play against each other, get a lot of reps in, a lot of games in. And then on July 14th, that's going to be where the top 4 in each division play for first through third place. Also during All-Stars, we are really, really excited. Chuma and Thoroughbred Performance Training is going to be working with our All-Star teams twice a week, starting the week of June 3rd. So rest assured, parents, that's right after school's gets out, so kids get to burn some energy off. And that's going to be going through the summer. There's a couple of weeks off in the middle there. And that's going to be twice a week. That training will be held at MEF Fieldhouse. The games, including all-star games and everything and practices, that'll all be out at Calplex. So want to dive into camp a little bit because this is something where, it's a newer concept. We've never done a preseason camp for flag before. At the end of the day, what we're looking to do is, okay, we start our games, April 21st. We don't want to have the kids just start from scratch. We're like, okay, coaches, you got an hour practice or 2 hour practice or whatever it may be to try to get your kids, ready for gameplay. So we want to use camp to really teach each age group and all kids across the age group, like the fundamentals and the different components and plays that they're going to need uh, throughout the season. From there, coaches they're going to take and run with it at practice, install, tweaks their own playbooks, whatever they want to do. But the general idea is to really use kind of like a progression-based system for these players. So like this is just an example for 6U. That's my son and daughter both are going to be on my 6U team this spring. So like we're going to have 5 stations for 6U, and players are going to break up into 5 groups. They're going to rotate through the stations throughout the hour and a half that we have camp. Station, and it's not always going to go in this order. Some people are going to start with station 5, some people station 1. But station 1, we're going to work on snapping. Okay, so demonstrate it, go through it, snapping back and forth between partners. And then the next week, we're going to progress. We're going to move into snapping and then a handoff. So week 1, we're doing snapping just solely on its own, getting those reps in. We're also be doing handoffs where we have each person get a chance to be a quarterback, stationary handoff, teaching the running backs how to, receive a handoff properly, get the open bread basket and everything. So we're really breaking it apart in focusing on like the small things in week 1. Week 2, we progress together and we put that together. So we go center snap into the quarterback turning, give them proper position, running back receiving it, and kind of going from there. Week 3, we wouldn't be doing the handoff to the running back. We would also be doing the handoff to the wide receiver on a jet sweep type of play. So like the core concepts that these kids need to learn, we're going to gradually build on it throughout the course of camp, where let's say for 6U, by the end of it, we'd want to install basic offensive plays, a run play, a jet sweep play, a pass play, things like that. And it'll look similar for the different age groups outside of 6U. Going through camp, and there'll be an email sent out with details to make sure that we, all the parents and players know what to expect for camp. It's going to be at MEF Fieldhouse. No parents are allowed in the back, and there's going to be a lot of kids back there, so like it would just clutter things up. So no parents allowed in the back. Gym shoes only. No cleats. So if the kid all he brings is, he or she brings his cleats, like I'm sorry, they cannot wear cleats. They'll have to wear whatever, like flip-flops or something, or just you're not participating. You just can't have cleats on there. When they check in, they'll be getting like a name tag. So that way, with all these kids, like being actually called by a name, thing like that. So that's camp. Next up, regular season, diving into some of the details. Like this is where we split up into teams. We got 8 teams in 6U, 8 teams in 8U, 8 teams in 10U, 6 teams in 12U. So we got a total of 30 teams. We're going to split up. We're going to play against each other for 6 weeks. The idea here is we want it to be fun. We want it to be fair. We want it to be competitive. So that's where we're going to start, playing games. We'll give the kids jerseys and shorts. They're like NFL team branded. They're pretty sweet. We will not be doing socks and arm sleeves this year. That simply was not in the budget. So we'll take feedback at the end of every year. If that's a big issue, then we could try to figure it out for the fall. Teams are going to practice and play back-to-back. Everyone's going to have 6 games. Top 4 teams are going to play on June 9th, where we find out first through third place. We're going to have refs this season, which is a huge improvement based on feedback that we got from the fall. Definitely something that's going to make things much, much easier. Everything's at Calplex. Practices are going to be on CP6, which is kind of up in the top area by like the soccer fields. Games are going to be on CP 9 and 10. Which is like when you drive back there, that like triangle area on the left-hand side, you go back there. Really, really important thing for coaches in the regular season. There's not an official rule on playing time because I quite frankly couldn't figure out a way to enforce the rule. And I think if you have a rule that you don't enforce, what's the point of having the rule? All I'm going to say on this is like, please, 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 coaches, we want to balance playing time. The regular season is about developing all the kids, building up all the kids who are in individual division so they get a good experience. They learn the fundamentals. They play year after year after year, and they go through the system. As they get older, as we introduce more competitive things like all-stars or things like that, cool, then we could start, there's going to be, more limited playing time. Like that's all good. So if you're a 6U or an 8U coach, like this means time and positions. Like at this age, all kids, if they're willing and they're able to safely, they should be playing all positions throughout the season. Like one or two kids should not be getting the ball every single play. They also want to balance based on time. Give them a really good experience to get those reps, to have some fun, and we play fair against all different teams. 10U and 12U, these kids are getting old enough. You can start specializing. Like you're not going to sit there. I'll use myself example. I was an offensive lineman. Like I can't throw the ball to save my life. Like there's no reason I should be playing quarterback. Like it's just going to create, a subpar experience for the entire team and probably for me because I'm sitting there and I can't throw the ball. So 10U and 12U, they can start specializing a bit, but playing time should be equal. Like there shouldn't be kids that just sit on the sidelines for the entire game. Again, we want to keep people engaged. We want it to be fun. Yes, it's competitive, but we need to make sure we give them a good experience. Last thing on the regular season, pictures are on April 28th. That is added to the calendar in Sports Connect and also Game Changer if you're using Game Changer. Okay, last kind of phase or third of the season is we're having all-stars. The goal here, like I said, regular season, we want to develop the entire program. We want to give kids a chance to play, to develop, to have fun, great experience. All-stars, this is where we can start, prioritizing a little bit. We're going to pick our best players that, put us in a chance to be competitive in each division. We're going to have extra training for them. We're going to have extra practice, and we're going to compete against other leagues' best teams. So we're going to do an evaluation that I'll dive into at the tail end. That's going to be subjective and objective. We're going to do selections mid-season. We got the training with Thoroughbred performance training, which is fantastic. And then all-star season, we're calling that the West Michigan Flag Championship, where we get teams from other leagues all around. I reached out to all of them, like, hey, here's what we're doing. Come on down. So it should be a really, really cool experience. Lastly, before I move on to rules for coaches, there's some helpful things. Quite frankly, they're optional. There's some things that I'm going to be doing and, getting feedback along the way. I think they will make for a better experience. Number one, using the Game Changer app, having everything in one spot because baseball's in there, lacrosse is in there. Like, I don't know, unless I'm the only one that feels like my kids are doing like 10 sports at once, like having that in there, communicating with families using the Game Changer app, like please go in there, set that up until a coach sets it up and goes in there and like logs in for the first time. No one on the team can use it. So coaches, please do this. Flag Football Playmaker X is a website / app that is awesome for play design, for, you can print play sheets, you can print, call sheets for coaches, you can print up the wristbands. It's a really, really good, tool that can be used to, design your offense, design your defense, and help communicate this to kids. And then lastly, for, different ages, 6U, I'm getting my kids armbands, colored armbands that match the little colors that are going to be on all the plays. So they can look down and see like, okay, I'm orange. I look at the orange dot. So I'm 6U, I think, getting them used to that. 8U and above, I think, similar concept, colored, I think makes it a little bit easier, especially for 8U, but you don't have to do color, where you can actually have the plays where they can flip it open. You can call out plays and you can run, we don't have to worry about huddling up between each play. I think those types of things, completely optional, up to you as a coach, but could make the experience easier and better for the kids. All right, next up, we got some rules. We want everyone to be on the same page with the rules, quite frankly, because, flag football is one of those things where, yeah, it's football, but it is much different in certain aspects than, tackle football. A lot of the foundational pieces, a lot of the fundamentals carry over very, very well, which is why I think it's great that we're building out flag football here, but there are nuances to the game that I think everyone should be aware of. So if there's questions, we could hash them out ahead of the season. So starting off with like general gameplay, like number one, it's 5-on-5. There's 5 people on offense, 5 people on defense. We play on a smaller field, so like that takes up space. There's no more than 5 people on each team. Or there's more than 5 people on each team, but only 5 people can play at a time. Start the game, visitor starts the game with the ball, home team starts with the ball after halftime. At the start of the game, home team can choose which direction they want to go. switch at halftime. Now, 6U coaches, like, listen, this will be my third season coaching 6U. If you're like, you get with the other coach, you're like, hey, we don't want to switch because, so and so just learned how to run this direction. I'm going to confuse the heck out of them if I have them run the other direction. Like, that's cool too. I think 6U, just get with the other coach if you don't want to switch. Other ages should be able to switch just fine. Starting position. So when you start off on the game, the ball is going to start. There's basically two scenarios for where the offensive team is going to start with the ball. First scenario is when starting on your own 5-yard line. So when you start a game, when you start at half, after a score, after a punt, or after a failed third down, and when the other team crosses midfield, you would start with the ball on your own 5-yard line. The other scenario would be you start at the spot of the ball after a turnover or after a failed fourth down attempt. And I'll talk about the downs in a minute. It'll make a little bit more sense. But you're either starting your own 5 or you're starting at the spot. Overall, majority of the time, you're starting on your own 5. Only exception, starting on your own 5, turnover, or if the other team goes for it on fourth down and doesn't get it. So downs. This is where it gets a little bit different than football or tackle football. Everyone's making fun of me, but yeah, flags football's football. It's all good. So you get the ball on your own 5. You have 4 downs to cross midfield. You cross midfield, you get a first down. So whether you cross midfield on first down, second down, third down, or fourth down, does not matter. Once you cross midfield, then you get first down. Once you cross midfield, you have 3 downs to score. Otherwise, it's a turnover, and they start on their own 5. So when you're on your own side of midfield, you're going out. First 3 downs, you're running plays, assuming there's no turnovers. But which like turnovers and interception, by the way. So you're running plays. You get the fourth down, and you didn't quite cross midfield. The offense has a choice. They can choose to punt, or they can choose to go for it. If you go for it and you don't cross midfield, the other team gets the ball wherever that ball is dead. If you punt, you don't get an attempt for it on fourth down. The other team starts the ball on their own 5-yard line. So the offense has to declare that before the play. You say, hey, I'm either going to punt or I'm going to go for it. But you get 4 downs to cross midfield. Once you cross, you have 3 downs to score. From an equipment perspective, what kids need to tuck in the jerseys. Otherwise, they're going to cover up the flags, and then kids are going to be grabbing the jerseys, pulling kids down. There's going to be complaints about it. Just everyone tuck in the jerseys to make it easy on everyone. Flags should be at the side. You don't want flags in the front or the back. Listen, if kids accidentally have flags in the front, there might be some incidental contact in an area where I'm assuming most people do not want to get hit. So keep flags on the sides, and mouthpieces are required. Optional cleats, technically. I mean, I don't know why anyone wouldn't have cleats. Like, you're playing on grass, I'm not gonna wear tennis shoes, like, just wear cleats. Soft helmets are optional. Some parents do it, some parents don't. Some coaches mandate it for their whole team, some coaches don't. That's completely up to the coaches and the parents. I think it's a fantastic idea because there will be incidental contact. Like, yes, there should not be like blocking and tackling and everything in flag football, but these are kids. And if you ever see kids play at recess, you know that there's going to be incidental contact. So a soft helmet can be helpful there. Gloves, sleeves, winter hats, sunglasses, as long as they're secured, all that's completely optional. What kids absolutely cannot wear: no metal cleats. I don't know why kids would have metal cleats anyways. No metal cleats. No baseball hats. And no sleeves. They're the same color as the ball. So if a kid's in 6U, no red sleeves. If a kid's in 8U, no blue sleeves. If a kid's in 12U or 10U, no brown sleeves. Ironically, that was a complaint from last year. There's a team that was really good at play action fakes. I think it's more of an execution, but I figure this is just an easier rule to prevent any sort of questions or complaints as much as possible. All right, so the field and how we keep time in flag football. So the field is 50 yards, end zone to end zone, 25 yards wide. Each end zone is 7 yards deep. So 6U and 8U, y'all could run the ball anywhere you want. You could be a foot from midfield, run the ball, pass the ball, whatever you want to do. You could run or pass. It's completely your choice. Running is allowed anywhere in 6U and 8U. 10U and 12U, there are no run zones. If you're within 5 yards of midfield or within 5 yards of the end zone, that is a no run zone. You cannot call a running play. you have to pass the ball. Timing, there's two 24-minute halves, running clock. Halftime's 2 minutes. We got to stick to that because we got games going back to back because we're playing all the games on Sunday to avoid as many conflicts as possible with other sports. Also, there's, we want to keep the pace of play going. Like, we don't want 5 minutes in between plays. Like that, each team is going to get like one offensive series. Like, so 40 seconds from when the ball is spotted to when the snap needs to happen. Each team has one timeout per half. Timeout stops the clock. It's a 60-second timeout. Injuries also stop the clock. So player gets injured, stops the clock. Number one, the player is injured to the point where they need to stop the clock. Like that player needs to be checked out. Like coaches, make sure that we're taking care of our kids. And at a bare minimum, that player can't come back into the game for at least 5 minutes, because if they're injured enough to call a timeout, stop the game and everything, we do not want those kids going right back in there and putting themselves in any sort of risk. All right, scoring, coaching, dead balls, things like that. So scoring, touchdown, 6 points, just like tackle. PAT, you got two options. You can go for 1 or you can go for 2. You go for 1 from the 5-yard line, which again, for 10U and 12U means you cannot run the ball if you go for a 1-point attempt. 6U, 8U, you go for 1 from the 5-yard line, you can run the ball if you want. Or you can go for 2 from the 10-yard line. All divisions can run or pass from the 10-yard line, completely up to you. Safeties, 2 points. At the end of every game, we're going to want the ref and the coaches to complete a score sheet. Not only make sure the score is right, but then also provide any comments or feedback. Like, hey, this went great. This was a struggle. Like, we're having some issues with this. Like, put that feedback in there so that way we can try to implement corrective actions to help improve the experience for everyone on a weekly basis, rather than, we don't want to wait till the end of the year or anything like that. Like, let's get feedback as real time as we possibly can. There'll be folks, myself, there'll be folks from the board, out there off and on pretty much, all throughout the entire game days, but make sure we do that. From a coaching perspective, if you are a 6U coach, only one coach is allowed on the field at all times, but you need to be at a safe distance. Like, you don't want to be like blocking it off. So like you're taking up parts of the field, so you get in the kid's way, things like that. You're allowed on the field, only one of you, and make sure you're a safe distance. 8U, you can have one coach on the field pre-snap. Before that ball is snapped, you got to be off the field though. And that applies to both offense and defense. So once the ball is snapped, there should be no coaches on the field in 8U. 10U, 12U, coaches have to be on the sidelines. So however you want to call that offense, if you want them coming to the sidelines, everyone getting the play, running back out there. If you want to have one person run it in, run it out, whatever it may be. If you want to run no huddle and you got play sheets on your wristband and you want to call it out and you want to go that way, completely up to you. It's just coaches have to be on the sidelines. So one thing that's kind of going to come up, we got kids that are playing tackle and flag. When's the ball dead? Because we're not tackling people. So the ball is dead or the runner is down when the ball hits the ground. If the ball carrier, their flag gets pulled or it accidentally falls out, they step out of bounds, their knee, their arm hits the ground. Or let's say if someone's flag falls out and they go on a passing route, they only got one flag, they catch the ball, they're down where they caught the ball because one of their flags accidentally fell out, or maybe they didn't put it back in from the prior play. Play is also dead when someone scores, or 7-second pass clock. From the snap of the ball, like on a passing play, once the ball is snapped, the quarterback has 7 seconds to release the ball. If they do not, it's treated just like an incomplete pass. So 7 seconds. One exception to when the ball's dead is 6U. We are snapping the ball between our legs. Like all teams, we're snapping the ball like normal football. I'd say probably older divisions probably should be run shotgun snaps, 10U and 12U. 8U, you can go back and forth, whether it should be under center or shotgun. 6U, and I'm 99% positive everyone's gonna be doing, under center. They're learning. There's gonna be times when the snaps aren't great. You get one do-over per down on failed snap attempts in 6U. So it's something to keep in mind for all you 6U coaches. So general game plays, you're advancing the ball, like running, passing, catching, everything like that. So running, the quarterback cannot directly advance the ball past the line of scrimmage. I don't care if he's rushed or anything. Quarterback can scramble. The quarterback cannot run past the line of scrimmage unless they hand the ball off, and maybe the ball gets the guy they hand the ball off to, throws it to the quarterback. That's cool. The quarterback cannot directly run beyond the line of scrimmage. Only direct handoffs are allowed. So no tosses, no pitches, things like that. Like it's a handoff, direct handoff. And when you're running, there's no fumbles in flag football because I don't see any way there would be a fumble where it doesn't touch the, so no fumbles in flag football. No blocking, no screening. When you run the ball, no diving, no hurling, kids. You can cut, you can do a jump cut, you can spin, no hurdling, no flag guarding, which is like where you're holding onto the flags, you're swatting hands away when they're trying to grab the flags, and you can't truck over someone who has established position on defense. Essentially, like I kind of look at it where it's similar to like basketball. Like once a defender is set and the runner is running, they cannot run them over. Now, a defender can't just jump in front of someone at the last second. That would be a penalty on the defense. But we do not want running backs just running over kids. So again, it's just designed to say we want to, it's a contactless sport, essentially, whether you're running the ball or whether you're on defense. Passing, you have to throw with one hand from behind the line of scrimmage. The ball has to go forward beyond the line of scrimmage. Okay? No two-hand passes, no laterals. Ball has to go forward, thrown with one hand, has to go beyond the line of scrimmage. And then we got the 7-second clock that I just talked about. Some other things related to receiving, you can have a player go in motion. They have to go lateral, and you can only have one player go in motion. Anyone can receive a pass. So center snaps the ball, go off for a route. Quarterback hands the ball off, as long as it's behind the line of scrimmage, which kind of has to be for a handoff. Whoever gets the ball can throw the ball. Quarterback can go out for a route. So that's why, flag's fun. No laterals. Interceptions can be returned. So there's no fumbles in flag, but there are interceptions. And as soon as the defender catches that ball, it's just like they're, a running back or a receiver that has the ball in offense. They can take it to the house. And then the offense would flip. They're trying to pull the flags and everything. Something that's going to be a little bit newer in how we're applying these rules, if you played in the fall and you're doing it this spring, is rushing the passer. So 6U, no rushing. Straight up, no rushing. All defenders have to be at least 5 yards from the line of scrimmage when the ball is snapped, and they cannot go beyond, closer to the line of scrimmage until the ball is handed off or thrown. So 6U, no rushing. 5 yards off the ball. Do not cross that 5 yards until the ball is handed off or thrown. 8U, 10U, 12U, different ball game. You're allowed to rush in 8U, 10U, 12U. You can also line up right on the line of scrimmage. You can't be off sides, but you can line up right on the ball if you want to. But if you line up right on the ball, you cannot cross the line of scrimmage until the ball is handed off or until it's thrown. Now, the one exception to that is rushing. So rushing is allowed, but the player has to be at least 7 yards off the ball, once the offense is set and when the ball is snapped. So they line up at 7 yards, and as soon as that ball snapped, they can come in. And they can pull the quarterback's flag, they can pull the running back's flag, they can block a pass, whatever. They can't should be making contact with players, but they can rush. On defense, you don't need to call out the rusher. You don't need to be like, oh, Michael's rushing. You don't need to call that out. You could disguise it a little bit. So if they're 7 yards off, they're an eligible rusher. The rusher can be moving forward. They just have to be 7 yards when the ball's snapped. So in theory, if there's you can perfectly time it. I suppose you could be in a full sprint right when the ball's snapped, as long as you're at that 7 yards and do that. But it's probably gonna be a little bit challenging to time up. Hopefully the offense in that situation would change up their cadence a bit. Also, once the offense is set, so that means everyone's lined up in their formation, that's where that 7 yard window starts. So if you're a defender, when the offense is set up, everyone's in their position, but the ball hasn't been snapped yet, If you're within 7 yards, you cannot rush. You can't like start right on the line and then back up once the offense is already set and then rush. That 7 yard zone, if you're in there once the offense is set, you are not eligible to rush. And yeah, so I think it's one of those things it'll add a new element to defense. We didn't have this in most age divisions in the fall. It's something that they do 8U, 10U, 12U. They support it in tournaments. And, the goal here is we're going to be, sending teams tournaments on a regular basis. We want to get kids ready for that by following the same rules. And then penalties. So this is available. Number one, all the rules are available on our website. This is also available on our website. It just has a list of all the penalties, what the yardage is, how they'll get treated, and everything like that related to penalties. Okay, last little bit, kind of going through All-Stars because this is a new concept, and I know we're gonna get questions on this. So how the All-Star process is going to look, we're going to have one team for each division. So we're going to have a 6U All-Star team, 8U, a 10U, and a 12U team. Each team going to have anywhere from 7 to 10 players. Some may have 7, some may have 10. And we're going to play in the All-Star season that I talked about earlier. It's the West Michigan Flag Championship. They're going to, be on the Cal team. Ultimately, what's going to happen is the board is going to select a coach for each All-Star team. That coach and the CYFA board, they're going to make decisions on, number one, how many kids are going to be on the team and who those kids are going to be. Now, how we're going to evaluate kids, we want to make this as fair as possible. I know All-Stars, I think, it's always one of those things where it can lead to questions and issues and everything. And I think if we have a fair and transparent process, that'll help. And we can always, tweak this as we go. Year after year, we want to make changes for the better. If this is an area, cool. But we want to break this down into 2 components. Number one would be like subjective evaluation. So coaches, you're going to have a survey and you're going to assess your players across like their readiness to be on an All-Star team, their consistency, their work ethic, football specific skills. And that's going to be due by Monday, May 6th. We're also going to have objective evaluations. Where on Sunday, May 5th, we're going to have an evaluation session. Any kid who, wants to throw their hat in the ring, we're going to assess them on measurable statistics. So think 40, shuttle run, throwing, catching, defense, things like that. We're going to combine the subjective and the objective stuff, and we're going to have a good view on the talent level and quite frankly on the work ethic and things like that and the skills of the players. We're going to pick the team. So the board, coaches make a decision, number, selections, extend the offers, and then ultimately the kids can decide if they want to or not, and we can get things started that way. Once we get into All-Stars, we're looking to kind of have this be really an experience that, quite frankly, challenges and prepares our best players in each division. So we're going to have training. We're going to have Thoroughbred Performance, and you all know Chuma, absolutely amazing. We're going to have a free spot in the Youth Athletic Performance Camp throughout the summer. That's twice a week. And then Advanced Skills and Strength. That's going to be, for All-Stars. So it's going to be 2 hours twice a week, all weeks for 8 weeks throughout the summer, except for there's a 2-week gap there before the 4th and the week of the 4th. We got the All-Star season where we're going to have, extended pool play. We're going to play a bunch of games on June 16th, 23rd, and 30th. And then the top 4 teams in each of those divisions, they're going to play on July 14th. We invited all the leagues around the area. We invited some travel teams from West Michigan, and we kind of are just looking at this and saying, hey, regular seasons should not be the time for our best kids to all play on the same team. I know I feel like we've all seen super teams before. It makes it a crappy experience for the rest of the league. We want to spread out kids during the regular season, but during All-Stars, we want to get them all together. We want them playing together. We want them getting reps together, pushing each other, making better, and going against the same type of approach from other leagues. We're going to get some sweet All-Star uniforms. That'll be awesome. And I guess quick call out, this is only for the summer. So make the All-Star team. This is for the summer. Moving forward, we're going to have to requalify for All-Stars. So this is just for our summer season, or for our summer All-Star season that I've talked about so far. Moving forward, so starting in fall 2024 and beyond, essentially NFL Flag, they tweak some of the rules and layout of how they view their competitive season. And realistically, what we want to do is we're adjusting right along with that, because we want to build the structure that we need so that way we are sending our all-star teams to NFL regional tournaments and hopefully even qualifying for nationals on a regular basis. These are some really cool tournaments. Some local boys are on a team that will be playing at nationals at the in Canton, Ohio this summer. Great opportunity for the kids. But moving forward, essentially, NFL Flag is saying a season is fall, spring, and then summer. So in the fall, there'll be regional tournaments. In the spring, there'll be regional tournaments. In the summer, they have nationals. And that's really kind of how we're going to approach our all-star selections and everything moving forward. So we're going to kind of adjust it once we get to the fall. There's a new age cutoff. So January 1st was the age cutoff up until this summer. Now fall 2024 and beyond, that age cutoff is going to be August 1st. We're going to be looking to send teams to NFL Flag tournaments. Like Detroit normally has one, Indy, Chicago, Green Bay, things like that. And the same thing that we did we're doing in the summer with Thoroughbred, with training. We're going to attempt to do that if budgets allow, to do that in the winter. So that way we get an opportunity to get these kids prepared to compete at a higher level. So that's all we got today. If there's any questions, feedback, anything like that, please, let us know, CaledoniaFlagFootball@gmail.com. A lot of the changes that we made, quite frankly, are changes that we made based on feedback at the end of the year survey in the fall. So we're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to send out surveys and get feedback from parents, coaches, everything to make this a good experience, and really looking forward to the season. Thanks.